Hello, everyone, and welcome to webinar 6, where we'll be looking at special person interviews. Please excuse my visitor here, babysitting this boxer. So, yeah, a little bit needy. So we'll just press on. Yeah, what is special person interview? Well, it's sometimes called Star of the Day or Star of the Week. I have been using Tokubetsu no Hito no interview with my students. And when we think about student-centered learning, really you can't go past special person interviews because it is the very definition of student-centered. It's about getting to know that one person, connecting in with their interests and their goals, their lives. And what's good about the special person interview is that it is an ongoing classroom activity that can span the whole length of a year. So in doing so, there's lots of repeated and recycled language that's high frequency, and that's why I love it so much. Plus, the kids really enjoy it too. So basically, you choose a student. It's really important for that student, especially in the early stages of implementing this, when the students are unsure, it's really important to have a volunteer, somebody who is confident and, I mean, you know your students, the ones that would be happy to be in the spotlight. So you choose a student, and I found it really helpful to use props like a special chair or a special hat, a sash or a cape, just to highlight how special they are. And it would, of course, depend on your year level, what you choose there, but certainly a special chair where they can come out the front and sit down and be special for 5 or 10 minutes. Then you work through, together with the student and the class, work through a slideshow of pictures, which really scaffolds the language that is going to be used for the interview. And the teacher then asks a range of different questions and engages and involves the class throughout. So that's the snapshot. And the benefits are plentiful and really fall into 2 categories. You obviously have the language, the benefits there, that it's very student-related language. It's information, language that they want to use, so it's very relevant. And there is great capacity for lots of repetition in a variety of different ways with different students, but recycling the same types of language. And beautifully, it can be adapted to all levels. I have used this with my grade 5s and right through to year 12, easily by just modifying the language that you use. But the concept of the special person interview and the way that it's delivered is essentially the same. As well as the many benefits of the language, there is the well-being that is also a huge benefit. It builds community by structuring the lesson in a way that there's lots of interaction between the students themselves and the students and the teacher. The teachers really importantly learn more about their students in their class, about what they like, what they don't like, get a little bit of an insight into their lives, which can then help direct your teaching and perhaps help to connect with different students that you may not easily connect with, but getting to know a little snapshot of them, and that can help the teacher to really make that connection. And really importantly, everyone's voice and presence is valued. By doing this, you set up a very respectful way of interacting, and so those interpersonal skills are really honed in, and that is, as you know, a wonderful side benefit of a languages classroom. So lots of benefits. So breaking it down so you can see the process and the flow chart to follow. I'm crediting Bryce Hedstrom for this. I love the way that he has organised this so that it's an easy format. Importantly, the goal is input. So the purpose of the special person interview, as apart from us getting to know the students, is for us to input lots and lots of high frequency language into the students' heads so that they have the input that is required to acquire the language. So step one is that you ask a question. I'm going to go into more detail with this, but just as an overview, ask a question, ask a follow-up question, report back to the class, check for understanding, and then a recall in the way of a quick quiz. So let's have a closer look. So step one, you're asking a question. So the question might be, do you have pets? Do you have any pets? And note that that's the first repetition of the word have or has. Petto ga imasu ka? Petto katte imasu ka? Depending on which form you're going to use. So that's your first repetition. The student answers with a full sentence, and this is an opportunity for the teacher to coach, to model, and to help scaffold and model the response. As this is done over the course of the year, this will become less and less frequent, that coaching will be less of a crutch, and the students will be able to complete that themselves. So the answer might be, Hai, inu ni hiki imasu, or katte imasu. Yes, I have 2 dogs. So that's the second repetition of the word chunk have or has. Step 2, ask a follow-up question. And this is perhaps the most important part, the step in this process. Asking a follow-up question is really important because it means the student knows that you're not just going through a list of questions and ticking them off, but you're interested and you're having a conversation with the student. So not just ending there with, you've got 2 dogs. Really, what kind of dogs do you have? And that provides a third repetition. You can go even further. Are they big dogs, little dogs? These are easy to gesture. What are their names? Namae wa nan desu ka? How old are they? Are they your dogs? Are they your family's dogs? Do you walk them? Where? Can your dog do any tricks? So using these sentences and these questions, you can see the Super 7 are well and truly at the forefront here. So step 3 is reporting back to the class. So every 2 or 3 answers, the teacher then reports back to the class, and it's as though it was some sort of news flash or a news bulletin. You know, this is just in. Minasan, Lauren has 2 dogs, and that's your 4th repetition. And you train the class in a way that's really melodramatic, really hammed up with a ooh, ah. And this engages the class, gives them involvement, and it then makes it far more interesting. So here's an example of one of the response cards that I would have up on a poster. So desu ka? So, and you'd be surprised how quickly the students pick this up. So desu ka? Or another one might be, omoshiroi desu. Interesting. Honto? So using these response cards really helps to engage the rest of the class, which is super important. And so you repeat steps 1 to 3 as long as the interests last. And again, you know your students, it might be 5 minutes, it could be 15, 20 minutes, depending on the energy and interest of the class and of the special person. So it's just really, I've learned from experience, it's really, if the interest is waning, cut it. There's nothing wrong with cutting it after 2 sentences, 2 questions, if it's just not happening that day. Step 4 is checking for understanding, which really just provides another opportunity for more input. So the teacher might say, okay, class, let's check. Laura has 1 dog, right? And that's your 5th repetition. Class, no, she has 2 dogs. Teacher then checks. Laura, do you have 1 dog? Laura, no, I have 2 dogs. And then the teacher, yeah, that's right. Laura has 2 dogs, but Jack has only 1 dog, because we know that because we've engaged the class with, who else has a dog? So you might be able to slip that in. And pretending that you don't know, or some people call it the Columbo technique. Inspector Columbo, who just a bit dottery, can't quite remember. That's right. And you're eliciting some help and input from the class to correct you with the information that's been shared. So step 5 is a recall or a quick quiz, something just to wrap it up, I suppose. So there's lots of different ways that you can, do for this. If it's a very quick check, it might be maru batsu. So it's make a statement. Laura-san wa petto ga imasu. And batsu if it's incorrect. You could do a similar thing if you're in table groups, and that's a great sort of competitive thing where each table thinks of, you give them a minute or so to think of all of the sentences in Japanese that tells something about the special person, and one by one they go around each table. So table 1 says one of the sentences, table 2 a different one, table 3 another one, and go round and round until you're completely exhausted all of the information. It's a really good collaborative activity to do with the class. A partner retell is something that could be done just in pairs, and you can just say, okay, can you share 1 sentence, 2 sentences or more? So And I've talked about the pencil grab before. That's a really fun one too, again in pairs with a pencil or a marker in between them, and the teacher makes a statement. If it's correct, they race to pick up the pencil. If it's incorrect, they can't, they leave it. It's a chance for the students to listen to more of the input of the sentences. The whiteboard, many of you have mini whiteboards, and so the teacher might say, ask a question, and the students write down the answer, and after a bit of wait time, go yon san ni ich, and then show the answer. It's a low risk one. Can be done in pairs too. The question and answer game, I wanted to go into a little bit more detail. I really find this is a great oral, scaffolded oral task. So basically, students work in pairs. I ask them to have a highlighter each, different colour. And so the goal is to get as many points with each round. So question number one, the teacher will make one question. It could be, again, Laura-san wa petto ga imasu ka? And so the scoring works like this. If the partner, so partner A, if partner A could understand it and say yes, that's 1 point. If that person can go one step further and say hi, answer in Japanese, one word, that's 2 points. If they can say one full sentence, hi, petto ga imasu, or hi, inu desu, that's 3 points. For 4 points, it's 2 or more sentences in Japanese. So it might be, hi, inu ga imasu, namae wa Toby desu. 5 points is 3 or more sentences about the same topic, so still about Laura's dog. And 6 points is 3 or more sentences plus asking a question to their partner in Japanese, and that partner understanding it and responding in English or Japanese. And then they would alternate, and the other person would be responding here and highlighting how their partner went. Yeah, it's a great fun game to, 1, provide more input, and 2, for the students to use the Japanese that they've been hearing in a low stakes way. Okay, so I thought I'd go through a sample special person interview to give you some ideas of how this could look. Again, it would depend on the age of your students and their ability levels, how much Japanese they've had before, and if there are certain grammar structures that you are required to cover as part of your curriculum. It's very easy to modify any of these interview questions. So use this as just a bit of a guide. So let's start with choosing the student. Again, asking for a volunteer. So we've decided on who the person is. So it's, and they come out to the front and sit down. So then we'd start. starting by, asking a question. So, konnichiwa. Namae wa nan desu ka? The response might be, Robert desu. Robert-san. Ask a follow-up question. Robert-san, nickname ga arimasu ka? Nickname ga arimasu ka? So you're asking for more information. Hai, iie. Nan desu ka? Nickname wa nan desu ka? Bob desu. Nickname wa Bob desu ka? So desu ka. Francis sensei mo nickname ga arimasu. Francis sensei no nickname wa Mon-chan desu. So we've had a little bit of interaction. And then you would report back to the class about this. So, minasan, Robert-san wa nickname ga arimasu. So desu ka? Hai, nickname ga arimasu. Nickname wa Jackie desu ka? Iie, Jackie janai desu. Nan desu ka? And so you can interact with the class about that little bit of information about the nickname. Then you could ask some of the others in the class, Susan, nickname ga arimasu ka? Susie desu. Susan to Robert-san to Francis sensei wa nickname ga arimasu. So desu ka? So interacting and engaging the class with questions to them as well as to the special person interview, the special person. So again, recycling, going back then to part 1, which is to ask another question. Again, you'll go through these for as much time as you can gauge you hold the interest of the class. So choose another question. Robert-san, petto ga imasu ka? And then you would help them with a response with that. You might ask a few more questions. Hebi desu ka? Petto wa panda desu ka? And see what the response is there before you do a follow-up question. So it might be, ippiki desu ka? Nihiki desu ka? Namae wa nan desu ka? Naniro desu ka? Etc. So the follow-up question, nansai desu ka? Petto wa nansai desu ka? Kawaii desu ka? Kawaii desu ka? So lots that you can answer, follow up with there. Then, of course, reporting back to the class with a statement or informing them, like a news flash. Minasan, Robert-san no petto wa hebi desu. 面白いです. So you continue these steps from 1 to 3. And as I said, feel the energy from the special person, follow their passions. They might not be interested in talking too much about their family, but they really want to talk about their sport. So you really need to check in with where they are and feel the energy from the class and move on if the mood is low. No good flogging a dead horse. So just checking in with them. Check in for understanding too, which provides more input. You get to verify the information and use the Colombo technique that I said. What was that again? So you're again engaging with the class to provide and verify that information about the special person. Minasan, Robert-san no pet wa inu desu ka? Inu? And then you're asking them to respond. And by doing so, you're then checking their comprehension and understanding of what's been said. So that is what we want. Then finally, your recall or quiz. Choose which one you want to do. You might want to do a couple of them, a quick marubatsu, and then a table individually, and then follow up with a table or group competition. Options are endless. So my top tips for a successful special person interview. Avoid any reluctant interviewees. Choose carefully, especially in the beginning, who you are going to interview. Make sure that they are really keen to get involved. That completely can be a game changer when the students really want to be involved. And you'll find too that the very outgoing ones are happy to go with something that they're not sure about. And once the class sees this a few times, because you are doing it on a regular basis throughout the course of the year, they know what is to be expected. They have heard some of this language before, so it's much easier for them to be involved when they know what is expected of them. So pick your students carefully. Really importantly, limit the new vocab to, about 5 new words. Again, depends on your class, but what I have found is if I'm overwhelming the class and the special person with too much new Japanese, that's when things halt. The fun is when the students all understand what is being said and the information that they're learning from their classmate. So if you've maxed out 5 words and you can see that, the confusion is just starting to set in, finish up when that threshold has been reached. You can keep the language comprehensible by using gestures and even an English written translation on the board so that they know and they can check that. But again, keeping the new vocab limited. And it is a conversation, and that's the environment that you want to try and create, that it is a conversation that you're having. It just happens to be in Japanese. And you're engaging the rest of the class by asking them or comparing and contrasting with the special person interview. Oh, Robert has a pet snake. I hate snakes. I don't want a snake. I don't have a pet snake. I don't want one. They're scary. So again, it's a conversation. And what kind of questions? Really, they could be any questions. Here are some selections that you might choose to use, but you really could, as I said before, use the questions that you think are going to be most beneficial for your class and your level. So I would try and use cognates as much as possible, like sportsu, petto, indoor, outdoor, apuri, although they may need some explanation of that one. I didn't realise that was a cognate straight away. So yes, choosing cognates as much as possible to keep it really comprehensible, and target the language that you need to for your year level is my tip. And this is a little Latin proverb here, which I think is really, really poignant for CI and language acquisition. Repetition is the mother of learning. The key is, though, to keep that repetition novel and interesting and unpredictable. And we can certainly do that by using questioning techniques of CI and following the interests of our students. So that's our webinar for today. I hope that has given you a little bit of an idea of a way that you could do your special person interviews. As always, if you've got any questions, I would love to hear them. You can email me or put your message in the chat in the JapanEasyReads community. And I look forward to our next webinar next week. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.